Deconverted Man here. I just recently saw this one particular video where this guy is about to shame his kid by shaving his head, giving him a bad haircut, and then he sits down and he complains at / preaches to / not yell, but talks in a louder volume to other parents in an attempt to stop the social media trend of shaving your kids' hair and giving them a bad haircut in order to punish them. Now, I agree with some of the ideas in this video, but obviously disagree with the whole pray for your kids part and devil this and God that and whatnot, because these things are relevant to how to parent. And in fact, there is no one way how to parent, and a lot of it is psychology, a lot of it is data, a lot of it is just the bare fact that you're raising a human to be an independent agent, and how you do that is not something that can be easily explained either by books or by spoken word or anything else. The society and the environment that you are in due to your personal economic situation is a factor. The feelings that kid feels and how they express it is a factor, and there are many other factors that go into it. When I was growing up, Child Protective Services were not as ingrained into the system as they are today. That is a big problem for parents in the sense that they have to worry that their kids can be taken away at a moment's notice if the school even thinks that they think that there's something going on. And one simple report by anybody gets you on the naughty list, and then you have to prove that you're innocent because you're already found guilty. And it is a nightmare to fight that system. And the school is not on your side. The school is on their own side. They don't want to admit that they're wrong. They don't want to challenge the system. They're part of it. So those are bad things. The fact that we haven't changed the education system in and of itself in around 50 years, we've changed certain things about it, but the way that teachers teach is not widely universally addressed. The way that students behave has not really been something that is widely discussed and or analyzed, although we have given these things attention, don't get me wrong. There is a complex network of things that a parent of today has to navigate through to be a successful parent, to not get themselves in trouble, not have their kids be in trouble, and at the end of the day to raise a human who can make good decisions, an independent agent. How do you do that? Where do you start? When becoming a parent, people don't tend to think about the real lifelong consequence of doing this. And education in that matter is a necessary and needed thing, but like many other education issues, it's just one more thing that we ought to be educating, but we don't because of reasons. When we talk about education, we're talking about a huge network of systems, bureaucracy, ridiculous things. For example, I got involved in school politics a couple of different times, and my mom did as well, and I saw that there was quite some ridiculous things. For example, that there is a group of people who vote on different school policies to get into place, and you don't have to yourself be a parent to be one of those people. You don't have to have a kid at all to be one of those people that vote on how things are going to work. That didn't make sense to me when I was younger, and it doesn't make sense to me today. How in the world are you going to really understand the things that are problems without you being one of it, right? But at the same time, it would be unfair to exclude people simply because they don't have kids themselves. And also, there is something to be said about an outsider's view on things. Perhaps they are more objective. But that feeling of, really, there's this anonymous group of people that who are they? I don't even know who voted for them. Well, we could have, but you have to be really involved to even know that you can vote for these people in the first place, and that who knows how many number of them don't themselves have kids in school. What's going on? It is sort of that feeling of, well, they're an outsider and I don't like that sort of feeling, rather than looking at it objectively. So there's a lot to it to simply say, well, we need better education. That's a political point to make, but that's a huge overhaul of the entire system from the ground up and from the top down as well, both simultaneously. And that also means a reworking, rewording, and eliminating of certain laws. It also means, I think, diffusion and or destruction of certain agencies like Child Protective Services, which, from personal experience as well as experiences of others, has never been a positive ordeal for anyone. And I don't know that there are any actual positive things to come out of that particular system, especially when they are breaking laws, telling lies, and assuming guilt until innocence is proven, and essentially being trained to find problems and then make those problems exaggerated so that they can remove the kid from the household, which is their end goal, which it shouldn't be, but it is. Well, that's wrong, so we got to get rid of that. We got to change how that works. There are kids in households where, yes, absolutely, those parents don't need to be parents. Is the best course to take that kid out of that? Or is a better way to educate those parents and make them be, or help them to be, better people, better parents, so that they are not the way they are, so that they can take care of that kid? And how do we do that? Because it is a complex thing that we're talking about. This old phrase of "it takes a town to raise a kid," or something of this nature, and yet we are far more isolated than our tribal ancestors. We don't raise children communally. We raise them independently, and we want to be independent agents, for better or for worse, in regards to us raising our kids. Is that system better and or worse than having that tribal system of raising children as a group unit? I don't know. I have no way to even quantify that. But that's a question that we need to ask. And we need to find some way to gather the data for this. And all of that requires money, and requires time, requires investigation, and it is not a simple issue. So parenting isn't as simple as waking up in the middle of the night to pray for your kid. That's not going to do anything other than lose you some sleep. Praying has absolutely zero result at all, other than perhaps giving you a moment to meditate. That's it. Meditation that is just simply breathing in and out and focusing on your breath calms your mind down, it helps you to relax, relieve stress. That's all been demonstrably demonstrated. Prayer has never been demonstrated to do anything at all, ever. Period. End of story. Praying for your kid is the same as not praying for your kid. No results at all. Same will happen. So don't do that. How to be a good parent? I don't know. Should the question be how to be a good human? I don't know that answer either. But certainly the complexity of the nature of our relationship to our offspring, as well as our relationship to the society that we place that offspring in, is a complex web that one person simply can't be expected to, nor be able to address all at the same time. And yet, when somebody gets into trouble for whatever reason, be it benign and silly or serious and actual, that there is something to be said about how we bring awareness to that individual that they've done something wrong. The carrot and the stick method is the methodology that's been applied wrongly throughout a lot of time. And studies have shown that positive is better than negative, that appealing to the carrot, it has better results than appealing to the stick. So we kind of know that. We know from studies that spanking absolutely is the worst thing that you could do. Period. End of story. The data supports it. The science is there. Anyone that argues against that is making fallacious arguments by default because the data just doesn't support them. And usually the arguments I've heard for pro-spanking is, well, I got spanked as a kid and I turned out fine, which is confirmation bias. It's not logical. So go where the data leads. Great, fine. But how does a parent collect all that data? Where do they go? There's not one central database. There isn't a Wikipedia for how to be a parent. And again, this is all about giving your offspring the chance to become a good decision maker, an independent agent. You're not raising somebody as much as you're enabling someone to be an independent agent. Not somebody under your jurisdiction and your control. It's my house, my rules, all this sort of thing. But to be able to make good choices that will lead to results that will give them more opportunities for growth and for exploration. Neil deGrasse Tyson and others have said that when a child takes apart something, that is something that is frustrating but should be in a way encouraged. Not so much taking apart the toaster, because that could be dangerous, but to explore in and of itself, so you get them something that they can take apart safely, and then you talk about the components of that. This requires energy and time and effort. And the parent often is also responsible for the financial welfare of the location in which people live, the house. So most of their time is spent on work, not at home. Which means, therefore, that the economy is something that has to play a role too. We should give people that have kids more money. Well, we kind of do. They get a little bit better of a tax break, but at the same time we kind of don't as well. And plus then we have all these fears about, well, then people will just have lots of kids so that they can live off the fact that they have a lot of kids, and you know, these sort of problems that come with that sort of solution and all this, and it's one giant web. But I'll tell you what doesn't solve the problem. Blaming Satan, thanking God, or prayer. None of these things will begin to hope to address any of the complex issues that parents really do face in today's modern society, or even in the tribal societies that we once had. It is too complex an issue to leave up to the so-called divine, especially since the divine is beyond and above empirical evidence, repeatable tests, or even logically coherent arguments. Maybe it exists, but the chance of it existing is just about as much of the chance that me dropping this camera will not result in it falling to the ground. It's possible that reality would suddenly change in such a way that the moment I let go of this camera, that gravity will not affect it, but continue to affect everything else. But it's pretty much not possible at the same time. Now, I await an argument still that there is some sort of God and or supernatural or anything of this sort. There's no empirical evidence, nor can there be by the tautology of these words. There's no tests because of special pleading, so the only thing we could possibly hope to have would be a logically coherent argument, and we don't have that. I don't have the answers to how to be a parent, nor do I pretend to have those answers either. What I can do is say, there's a problem here, and I haven't addressed all the problems, and there's no way that I could possibly even begin to scratch that surface. Shaving your kid's hair on and putting it on YouTube as a humiliation tactic to try to get them to not do that wrong thing is an appeal to the stick, ad Valium. It is not something that will produce useful results. Why? How do I know that? Data. Positive reinforcement, appeal to the carrot, appeal to bribery, although a logical fallacy, has been shown to have better results in manipulating behavior to be the correct behavior. But, having said that, are we raising a animal, which yes we are, but are we raising somebody who will come to the bell because the bell means a reward, or are we raising someone who navigates to the bell not because the bell was wrong, but because they know that the underlying reward system will be there for them to take advantage of? Are we raising an independent agent, or are we raising an agent that we can control? Are we raising robots or humans? That is the primary question that I believe that all parents should ask themselves. Once upon a time, I myself was a parent. And now that I've been removed from that role, I get to step back and be a little bit more objective about ways I could have done it better. But it's 2020 vision when looking at the past. I can't fix my situation, but perhaps my words can help others to fix theirs. But the fact that I once had kids that I was responsible for, those kids are still out there and they still exist as far as I know, but I don't have responsibility for them, doesn't make my arguments more sound. Nor does not having kids make somebody's arguments unsound. And although I feel a certain way about that group of people that are voting for and or against certain policies to be implemented in school districts, those feelings are irrelevant. Because the fact of the matter is, we can't deny somebody a voted for position simply because they don't meet a certain criteria. To do that would not be fair and would not be equal treatment of all people. Independent agents need independence. When considering whether or not you should take your kid to church, perhaps that's your religion, it is your belief, it is your tradition, but doesn't the kid have a say? And shouldn't they not be brought to church before they have the ability to make a good informed decision on whether or not they enjoy X, Y, or Z activity? Those of religious background and upbringing themselves will say no, they have to be raised in the church. I was raised in the church. This is the way we do it. All of that is logically fallacious. Whereas non-religious parents tend to raise their kids in such a way to allow them to explore different religions, different ideas, including secularism, including non-belief, and say, you pick what you want, it is up to you, I don't care. I care because I love you, but I don't care what you pick. You can pick whatever, and I will be fine with it. I will support you, I will accept it, I will embrace it. It's up to us to decide which we want, a robot or a free agent. Which one are you raising? That's the question that will make you a good parent. Once answered, honestly. This has been Deconverted Man. My friends call me Dan Green, but you call me Deconverted Man. Post your questions, comments, concerns, and other Q words in the comment section below. None of those words had a Q in it.